Hello, New Life Church. I'm excited to be continuing in this Life of Christ study with you guys. Matthew chapter 7 is what we're going to dig into just for a moment. Verses 21 through 23. And hang on, because this is a very serious passage. Listen to what Jesus said. He says this, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. And many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" Listen, no matter how many times I read this passage, and I've read it many, many times, when I get to this passage, it always is so intense to me. It injects a really good dose of the fear of the Lord into my life. And why is that? Why is it so intense in my life? It's because, well, one of the reasons is because the people that Jesus is referring to here, they don't consider themselves anti-God. No, in fact, they're doing some really religious things. They're saying some religious things. In fact, some of the things they're doing are pretty impressive. But they think they're okay with the Lord while they're still not obeying Him. And that, to me, speaks to the danger of self-deception. And I thank God this warning is in the Word. I just thank God for it. It's very similar to what God told us through Isaiah when He said this, "These people, they love me with their lips. They honor me with their lips. Lord, Lord. But their hearts, they're so far away from me." And so again, this is a warning. And this scripture we just read out of Matthew, it's clear that Jesus did not accept a person into His community, into the kingdom of heaven, based on their calling Him Lord, but rather on their obedience to the will of God in their life. And you can see something very similar to that Jesus said in Luke chapter 6, verse 46. He said, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and do not do what I say?" So we cannot truly call Jesus Lord and not do what He says. Okay, and that's because Jesus, He's not interested in just building a big following. He's not interested in building a big Instagram account full of followers. No, He's interested in building a community that's submitted in obedience to God. In fact, He talked a lot about submission to God's will. He talked about it in the Lord's Prayer, but you can also see it in the garden, where He faced the ultimate test of obedience and submission to God's rule in His life. If you remember, He said this, "Not my will be done, but yours be done, God." And He was the perfect model for how we follow God in obedience. So here's the big idea, church, in this passage, is that the hallmark of our discipleship is obedience to God's will. That's it. That's the scorecard. That's the way Jesus keeps score. Am I growing in my obedience, or am I shying away from that? That's my discipleship level right there. Now, some of you might be thinking right now, well, Pastor, does that mean that to be a disciple of Christ, I have to be perfect? Like I can never mess anything up? No, that's not what it means. But if we're truly disciples of Christ, then we're going to desire God's will. Our biggest aim in our life, our greatest desire of our heart is going to be to obey God every time. So church, let's keep aiming for true discipleship by doing what Jesus says.
Okay, New Life Church, we're learning the Word. I love what we're getting. Every day, a dose that we need for that day. Manna for the day. It's scriptural. I want to also remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can get this every day on Facebook. Just get involved in what we're doing. We're going to be here again tomorrow, so let's stay in the Word together. That's what we're trying to do.